Hey everyone, and welcome. We're diving deep today into something super interesting, the global vision of the Baha'i Faith.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at excerpts from this text called Pasted Text
Okay.
to kind of unpack how the faith, encourages its followers to think beyond just national borders and really embrace a global perspective.
It's really fascinating stuff.
It is.
Like how the Baha'i Faith really tackles this whole idea of unity.
Yeah.
It's not just about believing certain things.
Right.
It's more like a blueprint for bringing all of humanity together.
It's a pretty ambitious goal, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. Especially in the world we're living in right now.
Yeah.
With climate change, injustice, all these huge problems staring us right in the face. It's like, these problems are so big, they need solutions that are way bigger than anything one country can handle.
Totally. And the Baha'i Faith really seems to zero in on that.
Yeah.
That interconnectedness you were talking about.
Yeah.
It presents itself as this divine plan to bring people together. Our source material talks about Baha'u'llah,
Right.
the founder of the Baha'i Faith, as the one who revealed this vision.
Yep.
And then there's Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the faith, who really emphasized this global nature.
Yeah, he did.
What do you think he was really trying to get across?
I think for Shoghi Effendi, it was really clear that the Baha'i Faith, it shouldn't be limited to just one culture or one place.
Right.
It was this expansive vision,
Yeah.
a universal message for everyone, everywhere.
So it's not about forcing one culture's beliefs on the rest of the world.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing what we share as humans.
Our shared humanity.
And finding ways to work together. I mean, this is so important, especially now because we live in such an interconnected world.
Right.
Take something like climate change, for example.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about national boundaries, does it?
That's a good point.
It affects everyone.
Yeah, it really does.
And that brings up another point. If we're supposed to think on this global scale, does that make local issues less important?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is like, how do we balance that local focus with a global perspective?
That tension between the local and the global.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge.
For sure.
In the text, Shoghi Effendi actually warned against getting too caught up in what he called the familiar and the proximate.
Interesting.
He saw that as a risk,
Okay.
something that could actually dilute the potential of the faith.
So then how do we reconcile those two? How can someone be deeply involved in their community but still hold on to this huge global vision?
This is where I think the idea of unity and diversity comes in.
Okay.
It's one of those core principles in the Baha'i Faith. It goes beyond just tolerating differences.
Right.
It's about celebrating what makes each culture unique,
Yeah.
while also understanding that we're all connected as one human family.
I like that.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah, it is.
It's about seeing the beauty in our differences and the strength in our unity.
It's a powerful idea and one that seems really relevant to
Yes.
the challenges we're facing in the world today.
For sure.
It sounds like Shoghi Effendi was really pushing for this
He was.
kind of balance, this holding on to the uniqueness of cultures,
Yeah.
but seeing humanity as one,
Absolutely.
all at the same time.
He's a real advocate for that, and it comes through in the source material we're looking at.
Okay.
He actually warns that the Baha'i Faith can't obscure its universal character and can't compromise on the oneness of humanity.
Wow.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It is.
You know, I can see how losing sight of that unity
Right.
could be a problem.
Definitely.
But the great thing is Shoghi Effendi didn't just identify the problem.
Right.
He also offered some practical steps for cultivating that global mindset.
Okay, now we're talking. That's what I want to hear about.
Right. So first, he emphasized the importance of cross-cultural exchange. He really encouraged believers to engage with people from different backgrounds, to learn from their experiences, really listen to their perspectives.
So it's more than just reading books or watching documentaries.
Yeah, it's not passive.
Right.
It's about real lived experiences and connections.
I see.
Yeah, building bridges and dismantling the barriers that separate us. He also highlighted the importance of studying the experiences of other Baha'i communities worldwide.
Okay.
What are their successes?
Interesting.
What challenges are they facing?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We can learn so much from each other. It's like tapping into a global network of knowledge and experience.
Totally. And finally, what was that last step
Right.
he mentioned?
So the last one was urging participation in global discourses.
Global discourses. Okay.
So he wanted believers to really engage in conversations about the big issues, like climate change, gender equality, education, all of that, and to bring a Baha'i perspective to those conversations.
So it's not about just staying within the Baha'i community.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's about being active in the world.
Right.
Yeah, contributing to the wider world.
Okay.
Bringing those universal principles to the table when we face these challenges.
Yeah, and that makes me think about our own role in all of this.
Yes, exactly. What can we as individuals do
Right.
to really cultivate that global perspective?
Yeah.
It's a personal responsibility, isn't it?
It is, and there's that great quote from Shoghi Effendi.
Oh, yeah.
The world is but one country,
Mm-hmm.
and mankind, its citizens.
Powerful.
It is a powerful image.
It really is.
It's like it challenges you to look beyond your own little world.
Your own little bubble.
Yeah, and consider the well-being of the whole planet.
Exactly.
It's a lot to take in, to be honest. It makes you really think about your own biases and priorities, you know?
It does.
It's like, how much of my perspective is shaped by my tiny little corner of the world?
Yeah, we all have our blind spots, don't
We do.
But it's not about feeling guilty or anything. Yeah. It's more about being aware.
Yeah.
Pasted text actually gives some really concrete examples
Yeah.
of how individuals can put this global vision into action.
I'd love to hear about those.
Okay, so imagine a young woman in a small rural community.
Okay.
She decides to start a children's class,
Okay.
maybe teaching them about the world, about different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
She realizes that even though her actions might seem small,
Yeah.
they're contributing to building a more just and equitable world.
That's a beautiful example.
It is.
It shows you don't have to be a world leader or CEO to make a difference.
Exactly.
Anyone can contribute.
Right. Or think about a businessman.
Okay.
He might reevaluate his priorities
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that his decisions are guided by Baha'i values
Okay.
instead of just chasing profits.
Interesting.
So ethical business practices become part of this global vision.
I see.
Yeah. And even a local Baha'i assembly can contribute by consciously making an effort to include minorities in its consultations.
Right.
It's all about reflecting that unity and diversity in every aspect of life.
Right.
It's inspiring to see how these seemingly small actions can add up to something much bigger.
Yeah, it's like each of us adding our own brushstroke to this huge canvas.
Exactly. And when we all do our part, the picture of a unified and peaceful world starts to emerge.
That's a great image.
Pasted text mentions some key Baha'i writings,
Okay.
like the World Order of Baha'u'llah, the Advent of Divine Justice, and the Kitab-i-Aqdas.
I'm guessing those texts go even deeper into this vision.
They do.
Okay.
And they offer this really profound sense of hope for all of humanity.
Not just one group or nation.
Right? It's for everyone.
That's amazing.
It really is.
It's incredible that this faith, with its focus on global unity, came about during a time when the world was so divided.
Right.
It gives me hope that we can overcome the divisions we see today.
Me too. It's a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that even when things seem really tough,
Right.
there's always hope
Absolutely.
and there's always a path forward.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll continue this deep dive into the Baha'i Faith's global vision in our next part.
Sounds good.
See you then.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept.
It really is. It's not just about understanding these ideas, though, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about putting them into action.
Right.
Even in small ways, I think.
Exactly. Action is key. And it makes me think about something you mentioned earlier,
Okay.
about how the Baha'i Faith emphasizes unity in diversity
Yeah.
as a core principle.
Mm-hmm. It's about acknowledging our interconnectedness,
Right.
but still appreciating the unique contributions of every culture.
Absolutely.
How does that actually work in the real world, though?
That's a great question.
It's such a big concept.
It is a big concept, but it becomes much more tangible
Right.
when we look at how it's applied.
Okay.
So, for example, think about the global challenges we were talking about earlier.
Like climate change.
Yeah, like climate change.
Okay.
The Baha'i writings offer this perspective that goes beyond just blaming one nation or another,
Okay.
or even assigning responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they call for this unified approach,
Okay.
this recognition that the planet is our shared home.
I see. So it's not about pointing fingers,
Right.
but coming together to find solutions.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about understanding that our well-being,
Humanity's well-being.
the well-being of all of us is totally connected to the well-being of the planet.
That makes sense.
Another example is the principle of consultation
Okay.
in the Baha'i Faith.
Yeah.
Consultation isn't just about voicing your own opinion.
Okay.
It's about searching for truth through collaboration and really trying to understand all the different viewpoints.
So it's a process of collective learning and decision-making that really embraces those different perspectives.
Precisely. It's recognizing that we can achieve much more together than we can alone. And that diversity of thought is actually a strength, not a weakness.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to how much depth there is to the Baha'i Faith's global vision. It's not just a set of beliefs.
No.
It's a way of life.
A framework for action.
Yeah, it makes me feel hopeful.
Yeah.
Like even small acts can help create a more unified world.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
That's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah.
Every act of kindness, every effort to bridge those divides.
Right.
Every time you try to see the world from someone else's perspective,
Yeah.
all of that contributes to making this vision a reality.
It all adds up.
It really does.
So as we wrap up this part, is there anything you'd like to leave our listener with?
I would just encourage you to think about what really resonated with you today.
Okay.
How can you apply these principles of unity, interconnectedness, and action in your own life? What steps can you take, even small ones, to contribute to a more just and peaceful world?
That's a great question for all of us to think about.
It is.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
It was my pleasure.
This perspective is so needed in the world today.
I think so, too. I agree. It's really good. And, that potential for positive change.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what makes the Baha'i Faith so compelling.
It's not just an intellectual exercise.
No.
It's about living these principles.
Right. Putting them into practice.
Yeah.
And that actually reminds me of something we talked about, unity and diversity.
Right. As a core principle.
Yeah. How does that actually play out,
In the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like such a big concept.
It is a big concept, but it becomes much more tangible
Okay.
when we look at it in action.
All right.
Like, think about those global challenges. Climate change, for example.
Right.
The Baha'i writings offer this perspective
Okay.
that moves beyond just blame or assigning responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not about saying it's this country's fault or that country's fault.
Okay.
Instead, it calls for this unified approach,
Okay.
recognizing that we all share this planet.
So it's about working together.
Yeah, exactly. Finding solutions together,
Okay.
not pointing fingers.
Got it.
It's about understanding that we're all connected.
The well-being of humanity.
Right. Is tied to the well-being of the planet.
That makes sense.
Another example is the principle of consultation.
Okay. How does that fit in?
So in the Baha'i Faith consultation,
Yeah.
it's not just about expressing your opinion.
Right.
It's about searching for truth together,
Okay.
collaborating, and really understanding all the different viewpoints.
So it's more about collective learning.
Yeah,
And decision-making.
exactly. Recognizing that we can achieve so much more when we work together.
That we're stronger together.
Absolutely.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
Good.
It's really made me appreciate the depth and relevance of the Baha'i Faith's global vision.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's not just a set of beliefs.
No.
It's like a framework for action.
It is, and it gives me hope.
Me too.
That even small acts can make a difference.
Absolutely. That's what I'm taking away from them.
Every act of kindness, every effort to understand someone different from us, every time we step outside our comfort zone,
Yeah,
it all contributes to a more unified world.
it really does.
Yeah.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive today.
Okay.
Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Just take a moment to reflect on what we've talked about today. What resonated with you?
Yeah.
How can you apply these principles in your own life?
Yeah.
Even in small ways.
Yeah.
How can you contribute to a more just and peaceful world?
That's a great question for us all to consider.
It is.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this.
It was my pleasure.
It's been a truly insightful conversation.
I agree.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep striving for that world
A better world.
where unity and diversity is a reality.
I like that.
For everyone